So my name is Melanie Pietras. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing for Spectral Instruments Imaging. You just heard from Tim over at Spectral Instruments, and they have a very different business than what we do. Many of you probably think of them for astronomy, but that's not really what we focus on. We're primarily in drug discovery, preclinical in vivo optical imaging specifically. And obviously the data looks very, very different, but what those two things have in common is the need to be able to detect very, very low levels of light. So just a quick overview, when I say preclinical, what I mean is any kind of research or testing of drugs, therapeutics, vaccines, etc., right up until the point of a human trial, so mice, rats, rabbits, etc. There's many types of molecular imaging. We exclusively focus on optical, and the reason for that is because you have the benefit of it being a high sensitivity as well as high throughput modality, as where with any of the others, you're usually looking at only being able to image one mouse or rat at a time, and the exposures can take hours. And that's an example of us imaging 10 mice. Usually we're talking a matter of seconds, and the instrument over to the right is our Lago X. So optical is defined as bioluminescence up here and then fluorescence. We also use X-ray and a photograph for positional information. Last thing I want to talk about is the word in vivo. So this meaning inside of the body. The importance of this is that it allows us to look at changes happening inside of a living organism over a long period of time. So essentially, it's non-invasive. It enables longitudinal studies, and you can therefore track the progression of disease or gene expression changes in a way that you wouldn't be able to do without this kind of technology. So it gives you simply better science and avoids having to do any kind of unnecessary sacrificing of the animals. So quickly, I want to talk a little bit about 2020. We keep hearing unprecedented times, but largely our business any time prior would have been oncology based. Then COVID-19 happened, and overnight our transition went to virology. Most of our customers last year were doing some kind of virology or COVID-19 specific research. And that was an incredible shift, not just from an applications perspective, but because our customers had an absolutely urgent, critical need, and we had to deliver. So for those of you who understand managing a high growth business and working with suppliers, what I want to share with you is that the communication and prompt response and the ultimate timing to dealing with that kind of increase in demand, typically we see small increases in demand, not just boom. Working with SI was absolutely unlike anything I'd ever experienced in prior engagements, working with other OEM teams or even my own internal teams. So the last thing, as Tim mentioned, that I wanted to cover quickly was dealing with the 1900 camera. We do use the air-cooled version of this camera, and the benefit of that for those of you, again, who are dealing with OEM cameras inside of larger scientific instrumentation is traditionally to get to that kind of temperature, you would have to use something that was supported by either liquid or gas. And inside of a larger instrument, there can be some real concerns in terms of the long-term service of the product, life of the product, because of leaks, etc. Having an air-cooled -90 camera really helps in terms of the long-term stability of the product and therefore the customer satisfaction. So I'm quite happy with that camera. So that's about it for me. Tried to be prompt on this because I know we're a little short on time, but if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thanks for having me.